Alright, we're going to start with our first chapter in our QuickBooks curriculum. We're going to look basically at just introducing QuickBooks, and we may also have a couple other videos. I'm going to start with using the PowerPoint for this one. I may sometimes use the PowerPoint, but I may sometimes not use the PowerPoint during each chapter. So just watch the videos that I put up. Here are our objectives for QuickBooks in this intro chapter. We're just kind of introducing ourselves to what we're working with and everything, so you can see just overviewing of what QuickBooks is, talking about some of the basic principles as a review. Then we're going into behind the scenes for the accounting side, talking about some overview of QuickBooks data files. We will get into, that's when we'll switch to just using QuickBooks itself, in my video, the portable files, restoring backup files, entering transactions, QuickBooks user interface features, kind of showing you just the steps in the kind of layout of QuickBooks, and then also bring up help and support as well. So some additions of QuickBooks that we have is our online edition for Pro, and then we also have Premier and Enterprise, which has has a lot of different sub ones going under there. When we are looking at our product lines, you have your Online, Pro, Premier, and then the Enterprise Solutions. Premier and Enterprise Solutions are then broken down into our specific industry editions. So you've got one specifically for accountants, specifically for contractor, nonprofit, manufacturing and wholesale, professional services, and retail are all those different solutions that they have. This book, we're going to be actually talking about more of the QuickBooks Pro and Premier. They're non-industry specific, so it means they're a little bit more basic, so that you can apply it to any type of business. But we will also be prepared to use any of the other editions, with the exception of the online edition as well. So some QuickBook releases. When we are looking at our releases, Intuit has developed patches to go over to fix the problems with the earlier release. So a lot of times we may have to go through and check to make sure we have the most up-to-date one. Sometimes it'll send us notifications about it, but you would want to have newer releases. So that's where we'll see some slight differences with what we're looking at. So to verify that release level, just either press Control 1 or F2 while QuickBooks is up and running. So basically, to get into our accounting, we're going to kind of look at accounting in the 101 style. You should all kind of understand this. We've gone through it. So we are going to assess the financial position of the organization relative to its debts or liabilities, its capabilities to satisfy those debts and continue operations, having our assets, and then looking at the difference between those to find our net worth or equity. This is all based in our accounting equation. From day one of accounting, we've talked about how assets must equal our liabilities plus equity. And that's what our accounting really is focused on, and we're going to see a lot more of that in depth through QuickBooks rather than just our handwritten accounting that we've done before. So again, just like in our first semester of accounting, we've got accounts and chart of accounts. Just tons and tons of accounts. Business transactions are recorded in several types of ledgers, which we have our accounts. We have a ledger for each of one of our accounts. The summary of all transactions is called our general ledger. And then a listing of every account is called the chart of accounts, all things that you've understood and known before. And then each account has a type. So you have, basically, we have asset, liability, equity, income, or expense. So these are all ones that we've seen, is that we've got asset, liability, equity, income, and expense. Sometimes we call them revenue accounts. Revenue, income are the same thing. Another thing that we've mentioned briefly before is that we've got, or that we even use during first semester, is calling double entry accounting. So our total debits must always equal our total credits. So similar to every time we do a transaction, every transaction creates a debit in one or more accounts and a credit in one or more accounts. So we're going to have a debit and credit no matter what the transaction is. A debit might increase or decrease an account. The same is true of credits. It depends, remember, on the type of account, and we've gone through that. Debits are not always bad and credits are not always good. It depends on what type of an account you are in, and we'll review those. Because remember that we've got everything, we've got our one type of accounts that will increase it. So when we are looking at our accounting in QuickBooks, this is what's a little bit different because we're used to using our general journal. Well, technically we don't have to. The general journal will be built for us using QuickBooks. So transactions are entered in forms. So we talked about our source documents and from the first semester, and that's what's going to be shown through our accounting in QuickBooks. We're going to be entering those source documents. So anything from invoices, bills, and checks, and then those, from that, QuickBooks will handle our debits and credits for us. So that's something that's nice, is that you don't have to write the check, then write it in the general journal, then update your ledger. It all kind of does it for you once you write that check. Cash versus accrual basis. So remember these different methods. The accrual basis method is the revenues and expenses are recognized when the transaction occurs. So when those are earned. So when are those revenues earned, or when are those expenses happen? Well then, but on a cash basis means, remember, the revenue and expenses are recognized when the cash changes hands. So when we might have, the advertising might have already happened, but we just paid that bill. Then we would record it when we paid the bill. Or we did the work 3 months ago, and now we're getting paid. We would record it now, since it's when we got the money. With QuickBooks, you can create reports for either method. So you can look at it either way for that one, because you can look at it in different options. So the Academy Photography Sample Company, this is the fictitious sample company that we will be using throughout this time. It's a photo studio and a retail corporation, so it's a service and a merchandising company, and it has 2 locations, one in San Jose and Walnut Street. Before I get into actually using QuickBooks, the last part of this video that I would like you to understand is that we're going to be working with a couple different files, and I'll go into more depth when I actually open QuickBooks. But 3 primary type of files: data files, which are to enter data or create reports; backup files, which is the QBB, is a condensed stable version of the data file. You restore it into a QuickBooks data file before using it. The portable files, these are very condensed, and this is typically used to move your QuickBooks data to another computer, because our QuickBooks files are very, very large, and so we run into the problem of it slowing down our computer. So before you move it, because a lot of times our storage ones don't have enough room, so we have to condense it into a portable one and then move it, then restore it back to that data file that we have. That's everything for kind of the intro part. We're going to actually get into working with QuickBooks and doing some more computer interaction through our next video.